I pressed the button right. Yep. Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. It is Christina here. I hope you are having the most amazing day ever. I am joined with the beautiful Alisha today. She is a lady carnivore, and you might find her over on all sorts of different spaces like Instagram and YouTube, and we'll get her to share those things later. But welcome to the channel and the podcast. I'm super excited because I have been kind of watching your journey in the background as well, as we do when we're, making a transition in our lives. We kind of hunt out and seek out the people that are doing similar stuff. And so you are one of the people that I found. So would you like to start by sharing with us what led you to carnivore? Like, what was the thing that drove you there?
So my husband, actually. So I started a different diet at the time, right before I started carnivore. And so it was one of those diets where they send you pre-made food and then you eat that food that they tell you to eat, and then you had to make your own one meal. And you have to eat every 2 hours. So I was starting that, and my husband, I don't know why, but he got on this tangent of looking something up, and he came across Dr. Ken Berry. And my husband's like, I don't know if is this a thing? Like, is carnivore a thing? What do you mean we don't have to eat fruits and veggies and, all this stuff that they tell us to eat? So my husband went ahead and started it for 2 weeks, and I was kind of skeptical because I'm like, we have to have veggies and fruits because that's what we've been told our entire lives. And so I continued my little diet that I was doing, but then I ate something that it didn't agree with me, and I had an allergic reaction. So I just told my husband, okay, fine, I'm going to eat carnivore with you. We're just going to do it together. We're going to support each other. And I was hooked after day one. I've always liked eating meat, so that wasn't a problem for me. The hardest part was giving up pasta, I think, and like breads. But it basically started with my husband finding Dr. Ken Berry and doing a little bit of research and starting his own journey, and I just jumped on track with him. So, and it's been
Go husband.
Yeah. So he's kind of the reason why I started
the other way around.
Yeah. And then he kind of told me, like, hey, I think you need to start a YouTube channel too, and just start something, even if it stays small, not a big deal. Just that way there's more videos out there of normal people, right, doing things. And I'm just a general nobody, a general person in public. So my husband's like, I think you'd be good at doing it. So that's kind of where that kicked off as well.
Yeah. So I'm curious for you whether you found like doing the YouTube channel actually helps create a level of accountability that's, I find like by sharing my own journey publicly, it's like there's a level of accountability here that if I decide to do something that I know is not going to be good for me, I'm not just letting me down, I'm letting everybody else down who's watching as well.
Yeah, I feel like at the beginning it was a little bit of accountability, but I also a lot of it was when I dedicate my heart to something, I dedicate my heart to something. And so I want this to be successful. And yeah, I kind of held you a little bit accountable a little bit. It does help.
Yeah. I'm an all in or all out type of person as well. So for me, like I'm with you there. They just jump in head first and then figure out all of the other stuff along the way.
Yep. Yeah.
So I'm curious because you were saying there that prior to starting carnivore, you were already starting some other dietary protocol. Was it just to lose weight, or was there some health issues there, or was there anything else that kind of just got you on that path of we've got to do something?
It was mainly losing weight because there was this other lady, because she was selling the product, right? She was part of the pyramid scheme thing. And so I'm friends with her. And so she's like, hey, so she was like promoting this on her Facebook page, like, I'm losing weight, yay me. And I'm like, what are you doing? And I decided to spend money on this program, and more money than what I do now, just eating meat, right? And for weight loss purposes, because I was gaining weight very quickly. And what do? Most people start diets, right? So that's kind of how I got connected with her, because I wanted to lose weight. And I noticed that she was doing it, and she was losing weight, doing her program. And I was like, okay, that's what I want to do. But now doing carnivore, I realize how ridiculous that diet is, because you literally have to make sure you're eating on time. I had alarms set on my phone saying, okay, it's 10 o'clock, eat something. Okay, it's noon, you need to eat something. Okay, and would have to stop my life to eat. And with the carnivore way of eating and the way of life, I don't do that. I literally eat. I'm starting to eat twice a day now, but I eat one big meal and I'm done. That's it. And I eat when I'm hungry. I'm not like, oh, I have to eat right now and all this other stuff. So and I literally just buy meat, and I'm not wasting my money on other things. And yes, yeah.
I love that, because I'm like, yeah, I don't know about you, but for me, certainly, like, once I was like properly adapted into carnivore, like, at the early stages, you might be a little bit more hungry, etc. But once you're like properly adapted, like, you really don't need to eat that often. And suddenly, like, there's all this time that was spent on like picking up shopping and cooking meals and like making food, and like, oh my gosh, how much headspace is actually cleared just from not having to deal with all of that stuff.
Yeah, and that's another thing that's what I've started promoting now, because I kind of I'm at my weight loss stall, but I'm also lifting weights, so I think that's why. But so that's why it's so easy. It's simple. It doesn't need to be complicated. You don't need to make carnivore pizza every single night. You don't need to make the egg bread every single day. And it's simple, and you stay full and you stay satisfied that you have time to do other things in your life, So that's kind of what I'm trying to promote as well, is saying how easy and simple it is.
Well, and I'm with you there, because like, as a practitioner, I've used loads and loads of different dietary protocols with my clients, and one of which is GAPS, which is gut and psychology syndrome. So it basically stands for, fix the gut, you fix the psychology of the body. And it's a predominantly meat-based diet. So it is mostly meat with some vegetables, and very selective vegetables to start with. And even that, like, sounds somewhat simple. I can tell you hands down, this is way easier. I don't have to think about so much stuff. And I can, like, for me, I this is my home. I live in my van basically with my kids, and we travel Australia. And so I can do it on the road. Like, wherever there is a barbecue, we can pull over and just cook some food. We don't have to have all of the different gadgets and things to make food with. And I think, like, I can't stress enough for people how simple it can be.
Yeah. And we go camping a lot. We love camping. And it's still a little bit strange to me that we're not headed to the store to spend hundreds of dollars on making sure we have breakfast, what we want for snacks, what are we having for lunch, what are we having for dinner. We literally just pack hamburger and steaks and hot dogs, and then one day we have smoked hamburgers, and that's all we eat. And then one day we have smoked steak. Cool. Smoked hot dogs. Like, it's really weird still not to be like, well, do you want potatoes with that? You want me to make a potato salad? Or I have all this junk in my camper. I don't know. Yeah. And so now, like, one, we don't really go to the store that much anymore. And when I do, I have anxiety attacks, because I just want to grab my stuff and go, and I don't want to waste my time in the grocery store. And so, because we order our beef, our month's worth of beef at once at the beginning of the month. So I order like 40 pounds of burger a month, and that usually lasts us a whole month. And then I do go to the store every now and then, like, we buy our hot dogs from the store, and sometimes I'll go to the store and buy like a roast or something, but I'm in and out because I don't want to be in there. It's so simple. It's so nice. I'm not wasting time doing like shopping.
Well, and I want to say, you can make it more complicated if you want to. Like, I know some people that want to have, like, carnivore mashed potato and all sorts of other stuff, and I'm like, go ahead. If you want to make it complicated, you go for that. Go you. I don't have the cooking ability to do that, or the brain space to want to do that, but maybe I'll come eat at your house one day. Like, you make it, I'll come over. But it can be as simple or as complex as you actually want it to be. And I'm with you. I don't want to be in the stores either.
Yeah, and that's why I try telling people, I was like, okay, well, what about bread? Okay, make your own bread. It's just as good, right? And I do make it. But the problem with it is I can eat the whole egg loaf in like one day, because I'm like, oh, it's so good to me. And I'm like, oh, this is so good. But there's alternatives to literally everything, right? I've made carnivore cinnamon rolls, and my husband really likes those. I mean, cinnamon obviously is a plant that's one of those little on the line, right, of being a true carnivore, but it doesn't bother us and we don't eat it all the time. So I make cinnamon rolls, and they're really good. My husband really likes them. You can make cheesecake, like they're ice cream, and like there's ways to, incorporate things that you enjoyed, but they're healthy for you, and then you're going to be healthy. And that's another thing that I try talking to people about, is there are alternatives.
Yeah.
However, you need to make them, because you can't buy them in the store. So,
they're not easily available. I know you guys over in the US have got a few extra things that we don't have here. Like you guys have got bread cheese. We don't have bread cheese. And I've seen wraps and things like that, like egg white wraps and so on. I'm like, oh, gee whiz, I wish I'd just bring those to Australia for those times when I would just like to do that thing. But, it is what it is, and we don't have them. It's really not that big a deal. And then when I think about it from the long-term perspective of, do I want to wash up a frying pan because I've made a wrap, or do I want to just use the air fryer to make the steak? I'm going with the air fryer on the steak.
Yeah. I won't make the egg wraps myself either. Like one person commented, well, I'll just make my own because there's some stuff in there I don't want to eat. And I'm like, okay, but I don't eat them all the time either. And I don't mind buying them every now and then. Because I'm like, I'm not making egg wraps. I'm not making those.
We found one store around, like, because we've traveled most of the east coast of Australia at least. We found one store that had frozen egg wraps in the freezer section. And so that is how often that we eat them. One store in 12 months we've found them. So I'm okay with the little extras in that when we have that on that one occasion that we actually happen to find it in a store. Otherwise, we're just not really eating that type of stuff.
Yeah.
So it's not a big deal. I'm curious as to, for you and your husband as well, like what challenges did you find switching to carnivore?
For me, I thought my transition was pretty easy compared to a lot of people. Like I hear a lot of people like, oh, I had to cave in. I'm like, I'm hard-headed, and I was like, nope, I'm doing this, and I'm doing it full bore, I'm not cheating, right? I'm not eating a vegetable. First of all, I don't like vegetables anyway, so I was like, whatever. But just, I think my problem was other people judging me or bringing up like, oh, well, you can't eat this, or you know what I mean? Like, what do you mean you can't have vegetables? What do you mean you're not eating this? And like, that was probably the hardest thing for me. It wasn't necessarily like I was missing anything. Like, I didn't really care that I wasn't gonna be able to eat a candy bar ever again in my life. So my husband, though, he struggled a little bit. He misses food. He talks about it still. And I'm like, he's not going to try it, and like, because his health is amazing as well, so he's never going back. But he talks, I wish we could just order pizza. I don't want to cook right now. I'm like, just cook up some burger. It's super easy. Yeah, but I just want to order pizza. And I'm like, no, you don't want to order pizza. You just need to cook some food, So
by the time you order the pizza, even if you're doing it online, by the time you've done that, your burgers will be ready already.
Right. And that's the thing too, is sorry, my little dog is barking. So I noticed that food is actually starting to stink to me. So for my work, we always have a monthly meeting with our victim advocates, and my boss orders everybody pizza. And this month, I've noticed when it came in, I was like, oh my gosh, I could barely be in the room with the pizza. It smelled horrible to me. And so I've been noticing, now that I've been carnivore for a little over 10 months, that certain foods don't smell good anymore. Like popcorn, like, the popcorn machines.
Yep.
I can smell the oil they use, and I'm like, nope, I don't miss food anymore. I really don't. Like, and I see people eat candy bars. I'm like, good for you, spiking that insulin level. So to me, it's like, for how I feel, really trumps me having any cravings really of anything anymore. So
yeah,
I didn't really struggle too much. I think the main thing was probably not knowing about electrolytes when I first started. And that's why I kind of try to promote that a lot on my channel, is making sure you get a type of electrolytes, no matter what brand you buy. I don't care. Like, I'm not out here promoting or selling any of that stuff. I just, use the two that Dr. Barry promoted, because that's who I started following first. And it's whatever. And I think I wish I would have known about that, because I think it would have helped me probably feel better while transitioning, like while my body was going through its detoxing and all that phase and getting rid of all the bad stuff. So I wish we would have known about electrolytes sooner than when we did. So yeah.
Yeah, so let's talk about electrolytes a little bit, because I see I'm in the Facebook groups too, so I see people ask the question all of the time of like, why would you need electrolytes if blah blah blah, they weren't available in nature, etc., etc. And I'm like, well, first of all, they were available in nature. You naturally got them through your living water. When you went to a stream, there was some electrolytes in there. And the other thing too is we're not living that life anymore. Like, most of us have come to this dietary protocol because we've either been sick, we've been overweight, we've lived a life that's packed full of toxicity, and then we expect our body to just deal with all of that with no help. Like, no. What is your take? What are your thoughts?
I agree with the whole thing. Like, we used to drink out of streams. We used to get all that natural minerals from the earth. And we used to eat nose to tail, right? We used to drink animal blood. We'd eat the brain. We'd eat the heart. We eat the liver. We eat the bone marrow. Like, so we got all the minerals and electrolytes and everything we needed from that. Nowadays, obviously, our soil is depleting. And that's why regenerative farming is so important nowadays. And that's why they're going to that. But we just don't live the way we used to. We don't eat nose to tail. Excuse me. Let me grab my little dog real quick. I don't know where my husband went. He's supposed to be watching it. I don't know what he's doing. Come on. Come visit. Okay. So that's kind of my take on it. That's what I tell people, like, we don't eat the way we used to eat. And then as a society, we're also told, oh, salt's bad for you. And I'm like, okay, so did your doctor not pay attention to the basic human anatomy and physiology classes, right? Because I've taken 1 and 2, and you learn about, sodium, potassium pumps in your muscles, and your muscles need salt to function properly. And if we are telling people not to eat salt, we're not allowing their muscles to function properly. And so I just think we are not doing ourselves justice by listening to doctors, unfortunately. We're not doing our research. And me and my husband, we were both blind too. We were both there, right? So I try not to get so upset with people, because I was there once too. Like, I didn't understand. I believed my doctor. I was brainwashed, if you want to call it. So yeah, I agree with you that electrolytes, I think they're really important, because we just don't do what we did millions of years ago. We don't drink out of streams and stuff like that. So yeah.
I'm with you there all of the way. And I think too as well, like, a lot of people have a lot of health issues. They might have an underfunctioning thyroid, they might have adrenal fatigue, they might have like all sorts of different stuff. If they've got diabetes, insulin resistance, like, you can't expect to take a body that's super sick and in chronic stress and then just like get rid of all of the toxins, yes, but expect it to be able to clean itself with no added support. Like, we have to make up for the deficiencies that we had prior to actually starting this way of eating as well. And so I'm with you. Like, I wish people understood that concept a little bit more. And I love that you talked about the anatomy and physiology. It's like basic biochemistry 101,
And that's like the first classes you take. It's like,
I know, right?
So yeah, I'm
doing mine.
They just must have forgot how the body functions, I guess. I don't know. So it's really frustrating to me.
Exactly.
And I eat a lot of salt, and my blood work, my sodium was not even elevated.
Well, and for me, when I'm looking at blood tests, majority of people, especially even if they're carnivore, none of them are like, majority of the time I'm telling them you need to add more salt because their sodium is low or their hydration is low, and they're not getting the right combination there of like eat more salt. And it really is that bombarding message of like, it's the same one with fat. Don't eat fat, it's really bad. Like people will come and, I'll have a session with them and they're under eating fat and they're like, I'm eating plenty of fat. And I'm like, you don't even know how much fat is plenty of fat at this point, because you've been eating so little fat for so long that you just think like medium light amounts of fat is a lot of fat, and you've got to really up that game there.
Yeah.
And it's the same with salt. That message is bombarded out there of like, it's terrible. The one thing that I love as well, I don't know if you've ever seen it, it's a YouTube video called Science for Smart People. It's a video explaining like the research and what happens with research papers and how they come about. And one of the ones that he talks about is the particular one of blood pressure and sodium. And what they found was that when they reduced sodium levels in people, it was likely to decrease their cholesterol and their risk of heart disease by 0.002%. And I'm like, oh gosh, that's so worth me like not having a flavorful steak for.
It's ridiculous to me. Like I've said before, me and my husband were blind to it. I didn't understand it. I didn't have any knowledge of it. Like it wasn't something I was out seeking. So like I didn't really care what my cholesterol was even before this. It's whatever, right? But now that I know what I know, it's not the cholesterol that's the problem, right? It's high insulin resistance, inflammation, oxidation, so many more things, high blood pressure. All of that is associated with heart disease, but they want to focus on
the one thing that actually isn't even in the top 5 markers for having a heart attack. It's not even in the top 5.
Yeah, and your body produces 80% of your cholesterol you have. Like your body needs it, right, to make your cells, to everything. Like
all
your body
of your hormones, etc.
And I'm just like, I kind of regret doing this, just because now I know more things and I'm like, it's so frustrating when I have to explain to people. I'm like, no, this is the research. And then they're like, you're lying. And I'm like, okay, why is there a research paper right here stating that I'm not? Like, so yeah, it's a little bit frustrating sometimes, but I gotta pick my
I'm with you there. I think the frustrating part for me too is that I know that most people are trying to do their best. Like they're trying to do what's best for them, and they're following the advice, and they don't understand that there is trickery and marketing in all of it. In their food marketing, there's trickery. In their science, there's trickery. Like there's language, for example, like if you read a scientific paper where it says this created a significant result, to the average person, we go, significant, that must mean that it created a really good result. But in scientific terms, significance just means that they're pretty sure that the thing that they did created the outcome. Whether that outcome was like 0.002%, they're pretty sure that the action that they took created that. That's all significance means in science. And it's trickery for the layperson who doesn't understand that.
Yeah, and it's just what we've been told. Like we believe doctors, and stuff like that. So that's hard as well. Like my parents-in-laws, when I told them what my cholesterol level was, they're like, you're going to die. And I'm like, how? My insulin level is perfect. My A1C is perfect. All the rest of my kidneys are functioning excellent. My liver panel is excellent. Like I have no markers. Yep. I have I have, my blood pressure is excellent. And my weight's excellent. I have no markers, because cholesterol doesn't matter. We've been lied to about lowering our cholesterol. And I try explaining that to them, and they're like, oh, and they freak out. And I'm like, I don't know what to tell you. I'm never going back. I'm never eating a vegetable again in my life. I'm honestly don't even want to eat fruit. I have strawberries in my garden because I just planted them before I went carnivore, and I actually tried one the other day and I had to spit it out. It was gross. I thought strawberries were good, and I ate one and I was like, oh nope, they did not taste like a strawberry. And I'm like, well, I'm ruined, so I guess I'm really never going back now, because I can't even eat a strawberry. So and I don't mind it. I really like it. So
well, See, before I went carnivore, I had like a whole like garden. Like the front of my front yard was completely dedicated to vegetables. My backyard was dedicated to fruit and meat. So I had like meat rabbits and things like that, and quails and chickens. And so I was like, oh, what do I do with all this stuff now? I sold it on Facebook. I was like, Facebook Marketplace. Anybody want to come and pick up this vegetable garden? Like, go for it.
Yeah, and that's also what's nice. I'm not wasting my time in my garden. I planted flowers in my garden boxes. Is what I did. And
so
I
that was a new thing for me.
I just put flowers. I was like, I walk by it every day because it's right by my chicken pen, and I'm like, I can see my beautiful flowers every day, and I'm not wasting time weeding my garden. I don't have to worry about canning anything. I don't have to worry about making sure the water got turned on. I'm like, this is so nice. I have so much time not to garden. And a lot of people are like really passionate. I'm like, find something else to be passionate about because now you have time. So yeah.
The other thing I got to was I was going to grow my garden for my animals. So for example, instead of like growing the things for us to eat, I was going to grow them for my animals to eat, so that my animals got lots of variety, because I'm going to eat them anyway, or I'm eating their eggs, or I'm eating whatever they're producing. So that was the other way I kind of went. But you know, we decided to get on the road and travel, so it didn't really matter anyway. But that is what I would have done if we were still there. I would have grown just for the animals to eat versus me, which is really interesting because you keep bringing up and saying that you don't even like the taste of vegetables. And I remember, like, as a kid, like my grandfather and my grandmother used to have their own like vegetable garden, and they'd pull out some carrots and things like that. And I was like, oh, these taste really bad. I don't like real, can we have the store ones? Because I didn't like them. They weren't sweet enough. They taste like dirt. And I'm like, now that all makes sense to me as a carnivore. I'm like, there's a reason it tastes like dirt, because it's not meant for me.
Yeah, your body doesn't want it. Your body,
exactly.
This is toxic. I don't want this, right? And we don't realize that until we cleanse our body of all that inflammatory stuff. Like, I didn't realize I couldn't really, I can't handle pork, I think, because of after I got COVID. I started seeing I had like a little bit of an issue, but I think I probably couldn't handle pork in general anyway before that. And I didn't know that. I was eating bacon and stuff. And then now I'm being a carnivore, I can't eat it at all. I get sick. Same with chicken. I can only have little amounts of chicken. And so I'm like, that's really strange. I wonder what else I'm allergic to. I'm not going to try and figure it out, right? Because I don't want to have a bad day. I don't want to have stomach pain. It sucks. I don't want to be bloated. I don't want to have brain fog. I don't want to have joint pain. I'm like, so obviously I was probably allergic to a lot of things. And I'm like, nope, not even going to try to guess.
Yep. I'm with you. I explain it to my patients this way, that if you were to go skiing, for example, and you fall down a cliff and you break your leg, and where you've landed happens to be a space where no one's going to find you for a good couple of hours, the recommendation is that you actually go and break your finger, because the two breaks cancel each other out. So you're in less overall pain and you're experiencing less triggers of pain because you've got two competing pains versus just the one pain of that leg. And it's the same situation when it comes to scenarios of we're reacting to food. Like, it's often really hard for us to figure out what foods we're reacting to, or that we even are, because we're pinging lots of different pains in our bodies and sensations in our bodies that are all competing. And it's not until you take them out that you're actually now fully aware of that the bacon was causing you a level of pain and discomfort, that this was causing you a level of pain and discomfort, because now you've got a clean space to actually feel the triggers versus all of the competing ones that were going off at the same time. And so many people don't realize they're living in that world.
Yep. And you don't until you don't live in that world anymore. And you're like, oh, wow, I'm free. I don't, I have less body pain. I don't have, brain fog and all this other stuff. It's crazy. And for what I was going to talk about, but so for me, I noticed, because I was skinny a long time ago too. I used to be like 105, 110 pounds. And I used to eat whatever I want. I'm going to be skinny forever, right? Till it caught up to me. And now I realize why, because it was bad for me. But even I am, I'm 116 pounds now. But when I was 105 pounds, I have pictures, and I look smaller now than I did when I was 105 pounds, even in my face, because I was inflamed back then because I was eating anything and everything I wanted, and it was triggering stuff that I didn't know, right? I was never told any of this stuff. I didn't know. Like, we didn't have internet quite yet. We were getting there. We had MySpace start up, right? So like, we didn't have all this information we have now. And so like, I just look back at pictures and I'm like, I was sick there.
Yep.
And I was like, oh, I kicked myself in the butt for not knowing. But like, how can you know, right? When you're being told.
You can't know.
Yeah, told all this other stuff. And that's another reason why I like to promote this too, because it gives out more options for people when they search for it, right? I could come up, you can come up, other carnivores can come up. The more we get this out there, the better, right? And so that's why also I like to promote it, because I'm like, just try it.
Yeah. And I think too, people need to hear it from different voices as well. Like, some people will resonate with different voices. Like, I know some of my buff male friends, they really resonate with, you know, Dr. Sean Baker, because they're like, look at him, he's so buff. Like, yeah. So, you know, they're really into him. But, you know, some of my other friends who are, you know, they're postmenopausal, they're really struggling to lose weight, they relate to somebody different. Like, you know, Sean's a little bit harder for them to relate to, because they're like, I want a lady and I want somebody who's gone through the same sort of things that I've been through.
Yeah, and that's what I told my husband. I was like, you know, I'm not really concerned that my channel's not really growing, but I was like, it's not growing as fast as like probably somebody else that was bigger than me, because I didn't start out too big, right? I started out at 171 pounds. So I was like, I think my target audience are going to be people that probably want to get into shape on carnivore and learn from me from that, because I started working out in April. And I tell you what, I've was in the military for 10 years. I had to do PT all the time and work out all the time. I never felt this good in the gym ever. And I don't take supplements. I take nothing. I drink electrolytes, my coffee, and meat and eggs. That's it. And I am barely ever sore afterwards. I have strength. My muscle, I'm building muscle and losing body fat. It's insane to me how amazing eating carnivore is for working out. And now I understand now why Sean Baker looks the way he does, because I'm like, well, yeah, I get it now, you know.
I get it too. Like, I'm still doing the dance of insulin resistance. So I've conquered diabetes, and now it's the process of like getting my body practicing being out of insulin resistance. And so for me, when I enter into ketosis, like, I know it. I'm like, woo, I've got so much energy. It's not funny. I have to get around and run around a little bit, and I talk really fast when I'm in ketosis. And I'm like, got to remember that not everybody is thinking as fast as my mouth is moving when I'm in this mode. But that is the thing, is when you start to fix those health issues and resolve those health issues, it's not hard to work out. It's actually, I need to work out because I've got so much energy that I have to use it up, and I'm going to put it in a proactive way. And I think, again, most people don't know how they're like, how good they could feel if they actually like leaned into it and gave it a try, and actually just let's see how good I could actually feel versus how I'm feeling now. Yeah.
And I've gotten a couple people who are like, oh, I'm going to start it. And I got people to start it for like a week or two. And they're like, oh, I just couldn't do it anymore. And I'm like, okay, I really wish you would continue, because you will see the benefits after a month, but okay. And then I just say, as long as you're eating healthy whole foods, right? The proper human diets, don't eat junk food. Please just do your body that justice, right?
Yeah.
At least eating healthy whole foods. If you can't be completely carnivore, which I honestly love it, and I don't ever plan on going back, then just eat some healthy whole foods. Don't eat the processed junk food. Don't drink soda. Don't drink, eat crackers and chips and all that other stuff. That's kind of what I just try to tell them, to just keep it healthier.
And I think too, I've got to remind myself that people have to go in a bit of a progression sometimes. Like, not everybody is a jump straight in head first and like figure it all out type of person. Some people need to like put their toe in the water and do a little bit of a dance before they're actually able to wade and get in a little bit deeper. And that's okay. They're allowed to take their time on that and that progression. If they've got the room to do it, that's my thing, is if you don't have a really pressing health concern that you need to immediately start, then, and you are a bit more of a slower warmer upper, then take that time to do it progressively and get there. But if you do have a health issue, you generally have to just jump straight first and go for it.
And like, that's what I try telling them. Eliminate one thing. Like, one person I talked to, they eliminated almost everything, but they quit smoking. That's what they did. And I was like, cool, next step. One step at a time, right? He's like, I just can't give up my energy drinks yet. I'm like, okay, well, you gave up smoking. We're good, right? Let's keep going, keep doing it. Like, just eat meat and drink your energy drinks, right? That's one step closer to where you need to be. And that's how they need to do it. And that's how they need to do it, which is fine. Because, like, I don't want you to jump in cold turkey and then, you know, not want to do it after a week because you have really bad headaches or caffeine withdrawals and all this stuff. And I'm like, you quit smoking like a couple months ago. Okay, we'll just take that as a win and work up to, okay, now after maybe 6 months, only having an energy drink every other day instead of every day. You know what I mean? Like, so I do try to tell people to wean yourself off things and slowly get there, but eat more meat, right? I'm like, eat more meat.
Exactly.
More than at least half your plate needs to be meat. And that's what I try like telling my parents, because they are kind of keto, a little bit dirty. And I'm like, I really wish you guys would do carnivore. But I'm like, as long as your guys' plates are majority of meat, good, and eat that first, because that's going to fill you up first. So if you do need vegetables or you eat potatoes, it's only a small portion compared to what you would normally eat. And so they try sticking to that as best as possible. So I try to promote that too. I'm like, just eat meat at least. Every meal, eat meat.
I'm with you there. I think for me, and look, I'm interested for you as well too, like what worked for you. For when I started carnivore, the first thing that I did was I set myself the goal of the first 14 days is going to be fun, in the sense that I'm going to go and pick my favorite things. So things that I don't usually let myself have because they're expensive, or, you know, it's a lot to feed my whole family, those things. And so, you know, I got the salmon and I went, you know what, I'm only having salmon, so I'm going to have 2 pieces of salmon and not just 1 piece of salmon. And the same with like the prawns and like all of the other stuff that I really like. Like, I picked all of my favorite cuts of meat so that, you know, when I woke up in the morning, I'm like, oh my God, I can't wait to have breakfast. Yeah. I can't wait to have lunch. And normally I actually wouldn't get through all the food that I'd planned for the day, but it was exciting to get to the next meal because it was something that I knew that I really enjoyed and really liked, versus, oh, I'm missing out on the salad. Not that I feel like I'm missing out on a salad, but, you know, don't make friends with a salad. But, you know, that thing of like what we're used to actually seeing on our plate, like, and just fill myself up with all of that good stuff. And then think about budget, and then think about, you know, what do I want to do moving forward, and tweaking from that place. But like, try and make it fun and look for the food that you really enjoy to start with, and crowd out all of the cravings and all of the other stuff by just eating other foods that you really, really like. Eat a ton of cheese if you need to eat a ton of cheese in those early days. Do whatever works to get you out of those food cravings. Yep.
And that's for us, I think we went out and got prime cut steaks, I think. But yeah, it was honestly, like, I don't know, it's an easy transition, I think, for me. I don't know why, but I don't know, my body, I guess my body was like, nope, this is it for you. We found something my body just knew. I don't know, but I know we ate a lot of steaks at the beginning because we're like, heck yeah, we can eat steaks and not anything else. Woo, you know? And yeah, I'm never eating a salad ever again. That was a complete lie. Eat a salad, you'll be skinny. No. No, I'm not doing that again. Yeah, so
it was so funny for me. Like, about 6 months in, our car at the time broke down. I had to go buy a new car, so I had to like travel like 2 days to where the, you know, the actual locations of the cars were. And while we were there, you know, I just had to order whatever we could get. And so we'd get like room service, and they would have like the thing that I wanted to eat, and there was a salad. I was like, oh, well, I'll eat the salad. And interestingly, I did that for 2 days. I came back and had gained like 5 kilos, which is like 10 pounds of weight. And the only thing that I did different was I ate the vegetables that were on my plate along with the meats. And I'm like, you can't tell me that these things aren't hurting me, because like I have gained, and I didn't go and get like the mashed potatoes and the chips, and like I didn't go wild and eat all of those other things. I really just stuck to the vegetables, that like mostly it was a salad that came with like my meat that was actually there. And
Yep.
those salads I gained like 10 pounds on for 2 days.
Yeah, because lettuce is toxic, believe it or not. So is spinach and kale, and it's like it's a simple salad. We're told to eat those things, but how? When I just gained weight from that's the only thing I changed. Yeah,
it took me a week to take those 10 pounds back off, but you know, it dropped off once I got back home and I was just eating my meat again and focused straight on that. It came off fairly easily without me having to do anything really for it. But that for me just shows me how much those things were actually affecting my body, but we're told they're really good for us.
Yeah. It's amazing when you actually put that back in your body and realize like, oh, that's not my thing at all. Yeah, it's very interesting.
So with that in mind, I'm curious, because I know you said your husband is missing food. Is there anything that you've missed that you've gone, oh, I just would like some raspberries or anything?
I do.
I love the face.
Well, I know. I'm like trying to think. I'm like, I missed like snacking on things like chips. Or eating a small little Snickers bar, you know, every now and then. But you know, I'm not eating that because, like I said, I can't even eat pork and I can barely eat chicken. I couldn't imagine what a Snickers bar is gonna do to my body. So I'm like, it's not worth it for me. But I do miss those things, and it sucks that I can't have pork because I can't have pork rinds.
Yeah.
I can't even have, you know, that crunchy little chip snack, right? And I think that's the kind of stuff I kind of miss a little bit, but I'm not going to put it in my body because a lot of times I'll smell it and I'm like, whoa, nope, that doesn't even smell good anymore. So my husband's like, he did try an fresh homemade old-fashioned donut like a month or so ago. He took a bite and he had to spit it out. He's like, that was the most disgusting thing I ever put in my mouth. And he's like, that ruined my memory of that food. So he says, I miss licorice, I miss this, I miss that. And I'm like, then eat it. And he's like, no, because I know it's going to be gross. And I want to remember my good memories of eating it. I want to remember what pizza tastes like. I want to remember what licorice tastes like. And I'm like, okay, I'm sorry, you can't have it anymore. But
but they don't taste like that though, really.
No,
like, your memory
don't.
is not an accurate memory of what they actually taste like.
So I think the main thing is still a little bit hard for me even after 10 months is the snacking. But I have my jerky sticks. I'll be like, oh, I want a snack. Especially when we're camping, you know, it's still a thing a little bit sometimes. And so I'll just go grab a jerky stick and snack on that. But it's probably just the little snacks that I miss the most, I think. But at the same time, I don't miss them because they smell and I don't want them to hurt me. So yeah.
I think a lot of people would really appreciate being in the space that you're at right now with like, it smells bad. It just smells bad. Like, so I don't want to put it in my mouth because now it smells bad.
Yeah. I'm like, like pizza. I walked in, I was like, oh, whoa. Everyone's like, oh, it smells so good. I'm like, I don't know if I'm able to be in this meeting with you guys. I really can't. And I'm sure I was making funny faces at everybody that was eating it. And I try not to. I try not to stare at people. I'm like, so bad for you. Stop putting it in your mouth. You know, I had to go get my car's tires rotated and that cooking channel on. And I loved cannolis. I probably do, well, you know, but I never ate them like all that often because it's hard to find good cannolis. But they had an Italian family on there and they're making cannolis. And the entire time was like, yep, that's horrible. Yep, that's horrible for you. That's loaded with sugar. And I'm sure my face, because I was looking at the TV like this, and everybody else was probably like drooling. And I'm like, nope, never eating that ever again with the 20 cups of sugar and every like the filling, the pastry, the chocolate. And I'm like, so bad for you. But yeah.
It's so funny. Like, my kids are not 100% carnivore. They're probably about 70% carnivore, and they have their own cash at the moment. So they'll buy themselves some things every so often. And like, they'll buy a pack of lollies and it's like, oh man, I can smell the sugar in that. Like literally, like it's overwhelming how sweet you can smell it.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, I don't know that I smelt it like that prior to actually not having it as a food that I was eating ever. And so it's actually surprising how overwhelming those smells can be when you're picking up on them. And for me, it just makes me think about how much more they have to put in to get through all of the sensory desensitization that's happening for those people that are actually eating those foods. To make it have that flavor and that smell, they've got to put in so much more to bypass all the I love your face. It's like,
no. Yeah.
Nope, not happening.
No.
But to bypass their desensitization that they've developed to those things.
It's just going to get worse, right? It's just like, it's going to get worse. I mean, I watched, I think it was a YouTube short or something, or TikTok or something. Some guy was like, how much sugar is in this ketchup? And like, it was half the bottle was sugar. And I'm like, and I know somebody's kids that will literally eat a whole bottle of sugar in ketchup in like 2 or 3 days. And I'm like, that's why they have severe ADHD and they have issues focusing at school, is because you are letting them eat all this sugary stuff and you wonder why your kid has issues.
And people don't see it. Like they don't see it. And I think even to the point of recognizing that, like, how much has that ketchup increased in sugar over the last decade? Like, so when they were a kid, maybe they had ketchup and they've got memories of having that. But the ketchup that they're eating today has vastly got more toxins, more chemicals, more sugar in it than what they had when they were kids even. And so it just perpetuates the issues.
And I agree, because there, more and more kids are obese now compared to when we were probably growing up, right? And we didn't have a lot of fast food options. I mean, we got McDonald's like maybe every 2 months, and man, I got a Big Mac because you never got that, and it was like huge when I was a kid. Now it's like tiny, but
I know, right?
Like the large fry was like this big, now it's like this big. But we didn't eat like that a lot. Like we didn't, you couldn't afford to eat out. Plus there wasn't as many restaurants to eat out and stuff like that. And so we had a lot more home cooked meals, which are usually better for you. Well, back then. Now they add junk in everything. I mean, you can't even get lunch meat without dextrose in it. And I'm like, oh my, why? I don't like sugar in my lunch meat. I just want meat. Like, I don't. It's frustrating. So they have literally ruined all of our food, just about, compared to back then. So,
well, and I think that that's the other challenge that I face as well, because I know one of the things that you just said a minute ago was that at least go whole foods, right? At least go whole foods. And the challenge now is even to go whole foods is hard. Like, what are they putting into this? What are they injecting into it? If you go, like here in Australia, if you go and get a roast chicken from the rotisserie part of the section at the supermarket, they spray that thing with fire retardant so that it doesn't catch fire and like burn the shop down. I'm like, you want to eat that? Like, no.
And it's upsetting.
And you think you're just getting a chicken.
Yeah, and it's upsetting because like you can go to Costco here in the States and get their chicken and it was really good. I will never touch it again. Now that I know what I know now and the ingredients that are in it, I was like, I'm not putting any of that in my body. And everybody's like, you're just being really picky. And I was like, no, I'm not. First of all, pretty sure that's going to cause me joint pain or stomach pain. And I do not want to feel like crap the rest of the day. So I'm going to, if you want to call me picky, be picky. I just want my body to be healthy and function like it's supposed to. Don't really think that's considered picky, but I'm like, that's all poison. It's like stuff they spray animals, like to kill animals with. It's like, and like the fried chicken at our grocery store, I would eat it honestly if they didn't fry it in seed oils. But no one hardly ever uses beef tallow anymore.
And that used to be the thing, like way back when KFC, for example, they cooked all of their stuff in tallow until, until the medical information came along and said cholesterol is really bad and animal fats are really bad, so let's replace it with something that's like way more toxic and poisonous to you and is actually going to make you need medication. Like even the takeaway food was healthier than back then, before science got involved. It's just like, oh my gosh,
we're a mess. Our society.
Oh, for sure.
And especially in the US, we are horrible. We're worse than, the UK and stuff, because at least the UK doesn't let you put food coloring in the cereal. they kind of try to limit some of the ingredients, right? So if you look at Fruit Loops from the States and Fruit Loops from the UK, the ingredients list in the States is like ginormously long, where it's in the UK, it's only a little bit, right? It's still processed food. We shouldn't be eating it.
Yeah.
But the UK version is way better. I mean, it's like, what are we doing? That's another thing that frustrates me, is I just want to like scream from the treetops, like, but people are going to listen or people aren't going to listen. So it is what it is.
I'm with you there. I think, and that's again part of the reason that I do these types of conversations as well, is so that, people can gain some knowledge and gain some awareness and get some understanding that's not necessarily right in their face, because it's not what you're being taught at school. It's not what you get taught if you go to your doctor's office or even the dietitian. I had a client this morning message me telling me that their father-in-law has been put on Ozempic and he throws up 3 times a day because it's like, it paralyzes your stomach, so it's got nowhere to go, so you end up vomiting. And that he goes to the dietitian, and the dietitian tells him that the fruit loaf, like Sultana brand loaf, is actually good for him, and that the other bits of pasta and rice and crap that he's having is really good for him, and his diabetes is out of control, and he's dropped a can of beans on his foot, and now he's got ulcers that are happening. I'm like, this is absolutely criminal that you've got medical professionals that are doing this to you and they're not helping you. They're not actually giving you good quality information to get free off of these medications and out of these states of sickness. So when people say to you, oh, you're being picky, I'm like, yeah, you're being picky. I'm picking to not have arthritis, not have joint pain, not have diabetes, not have headaches. I'm being picky to feel good. Thank you.
Yeah. And I'm actually getting my bachelor's in nutrition because I want to start my own side business on my own, because if you work for an actual company, right, you have to pertain to the standard American diet guidelines. And I'm telling you right now, I have a hard time.
No way, no how.
Being quiet in my nutrition class just so I can get through it to get my degree so I can practice, right? And I'm like, there's no way am I going to do that. And I do my in-body scans, right, where it scans how much fat and muscle I do. And I do that every 6 weeks. And I actually see a nutritionist that does it for me. And I told him what I do. And he's like, yep, good for you. He can't promote it because he'll get in trouble. But he does a similar thing. He eats mainly meat, but he does carb up on certain small, like a half a bagel and stuff like that, because he's a cyclist. So he feels he needs those carbs for energy, which I don't agree with. I think you can do a 4-hour bike ride and be fine functioning off fats and ketones, but he feels he needs some of those carbs, but it's only small little amounts. So I would call him probably a ketovore is what I would call him.
Yeah.
He agrees with what I'm doing, but he can't tell anybody else that. And there's a couple people he trains in the gym, and I'm in the gym, and he tells them about me. They're like, well, what is she doing? He's like, I can't tell you what she's doing, but you can go ask her and she'll be glad to tell you, because he can't get that advice. And it's so sad. And it really upsets me. And I don't want to be like that. I want to have my own business to where I can tell people keto, ketovore, and carnivore. That's what I'm going to promote. And mainly I want to promote carnivore, but if someone can't do it, right, at least try keto, or mainly ketovore. And if you can't do ketovore, at least, healthy whole foods. And try getting the healthiest ones as possible, right, without all the extra stuff on it as possible. But we live in a world now where that's kind of hard. So they're even messing with our meat supply right now, so there's that, right? And it's like,
oh my gosh, you guys over in this, we have not got the lab grown meat and stuff like that yet. So I'm feeling sorry for you guys over there. Like, don't go buy chicken breast, at least go buy a whole chicken and cut it up yourself, so it's actually a chicken.
It's a mess.
It's getting crazy.
And unfortunately it's going to get worse before it's going to get better. But that's why I'm glad that we are normal people like this are finally standing up and creating YouTube channels or Instagrams, Facebooks, TikToks, whatever platform you're on. I think we need to get more people on board and at least educate people and give them that information. Even if they don't want to be on board with us, at least be like, no, cholesterol is a good thing. You need fat. It's essential. Stop doing low fat diets, all this other stuff. So, yeah.
It's really interesting, and I'm sure we could talk about this forever and a day, but one of the conversations that I see happening is that people go, oh, that will give you gallstones. And I'm like, no. What gave you the gallstones was not eating like this to start with. Like, you already had the gallstones. If you start eating high fat and you don't do some things to soften those stones before that, then all you're doing is experiencing your body trying to get rid of those gallstones now. It didn't give you the gallstones. You already had them from eating the low fat diet that you were having to start with. Like,
it's like, oh my God, I had a heart attack after 2 months on carnivore. I was like, that's not what caused your heart attack, dude. Your clogged arteries from eating all those seed oils and all the sugar you were eating caused you to have inflammation and caused your, all the LDL. And like, that's not, it's not because
you already had the heart attack. It was gonna happen. You maybe even reduce, like maybe instead of having it 1 month, you had it 2 months because you started eating better. So it delayed the heart attack.
Yeah. And then I like how people are like, well, I don't have a gallbladder anymore. And so I had to do some research of that, right? Because I've never, even thought about researching that. And I'm like, okay. So I came across, they need to eat more than once a day. So for me, I can eat all my fat in one sitting. Because I have a gallbladder, I don't have an issue. But some people that don't, they say that they have to split their meals up because they could cause them to have issues. So I'm glad I found that, because that's a lot of the comments I get on my YouTube channel or from coworkers that I, try getting on the carnivore diet. Well, I don't have a gallbladder, or I can't do that because I have issues. So I did some research, and that's what I found is they have to break up their fat throughout the day, and they can do it just fine.
Well, and they only really need to do that at the start, because your liver gets trained. The real thing with the gallbladder is you've got to give it consistency, because your gallbladder is not there housing the bile anymore. So it's not just holding on to it, waiting for you to eat it. Your liver has to release it. And so creating consistency of like, I eat at this time, this is roughly how much I eat, is going to support your liver to do that. And you can transition to 1 meal a day, but you just got to do it a little bit more gradually if that's what you want to do.
Yeah, and I heard that you can develop a fake gallbladder as well if you don't have a gallbladder at all, and you can gradually, eventually eat 1 meal a day if you want to. And a lot of people are like, "Well, I couldn't do that." And I'm like, "Well, you need to try eating all you can eat in one sitting, but if you can't handle it at the beginning, you need to break it up." So.
And that's the thing, one of the comments that I will see all of the time is like, what advice is actually accurate? Some people are saying high fat, some people are saying low fat, some people are saying this, and some people are saying that. And my comment back to it is they're all right. They're all actually right. But are you the right audience for that advice? If you are in the phase of like, trying to get into ketosis, then eating a lot of protein at that point in time and little fat's not going to help you do the switch from insulin to ketosis. But once you're in there, you can play around with those fat markers a little bit more and create different results. But you've got to match the right person to the right advice.
And I think that's just, sorry, my cat's in my room now, but I think it just depends on your body. Like everybody's different. Like a lot of what I was seeing when I first started, it was 80% fat, 20% protein. So that's kind of what I shot for. That was too much for me. I was going to the bathroom, I was having stomach problems. So I'm more of 70-30, 60-40 protein, right? Or fat to protein. So I'm not a high fat person. And honestly, I don't even count. That's another thing that's nice about the carnivore diet. I've counted my macros before and I hated it. I don't count anything. I literally get 80-20 beef, and I eat that with 4 eggs, usually almost every single day during my work week. That's my meal every day. 80-20 beef and 4 eggs. And then when we have steak, we just get the fattiest cut of meat that we can find. Our butcher doesn't really cut too much off, so that's nice. But at the store, right, because they cut the fat off because the fat's bad for you. I honestly like the fat. I think it tastes good. But we go through the steaks and find the fattiest cut that we can find, and that's what we eat. So that's what I tell people. I'm like, try finding the fattiest cut you can buy, and you should be good with your fat ratio. You don't need to put it in a food calculator. First of all, those aren't even accurate anyway, because you can put a New York strip steak on there, and it's a general amount, right? From some random steak they pulled off of a shelf and put in the lab and tested that steak. So it's not even accurate anyway. and it's a waste of time. But some people like to count calories, and I'm just like, everyone's like, how much calories do you eat? And I was like, however much 1 pound of burger is with 4 eggs. I don't like 1,600 calories, 1,800 calories. I think it is. I think it's almost 2,000. Well, I think it's about 1,800 calories. I think I put it in my calorie calculator once, and I was like, because someone tried arguing with me that the reason why I lost so much weight is because I was in a calorie deficit, and I'm like, well, per the guidelines, I'm actually eating more calories than I should be eating to lose weight. But yeah, I'm losing weight. So no, I'm not in a calorie deficit. And they didn't comment back. So
I had that same situation. And the interesting thing was I have previously in my life done 5-HCG, which is where you're eating 500 calories a day. And I have lost way more weight doing carnivore, way easier than when I was doing that. Even though like the HCG stops you from feeling hungry and all of that type of stuff, I lost way more weight, way easier doing carnivore than when I was eating 500 calories a day. Like, you know.
Oh, this is so when I was in the military and I was trying to, get into shape and build muscle and all that, I counted my macros. I made sure I had so much protein every day, so many carbs, and so many fats, right? And then, okay, that ratio wasn't working. So I'd adjust that, right? And I'm like, okay, this nothing. And I was working out hard at the gym, like 2 hours at the gym, lifting and running, doing sprints, like 5-6 days a week. I was working my butt off. Didn't lose an ounce. I probably gained some muscle, but not compared to what I'm doing now. I didn't lose any weight. Carnivore way of eating, I'm down 55 pounds in 10 months. That's insanity to me. My husband's down almost 100 pounds.
I'm down 94 in 12 months.
Yeah,
so,
it's crazy to me.
Easy.
Like, and I feel good. I'm not hungry. If I'm hungry, I eat meat and I'm full and I just feel good. I'm not counting anything. I am like, it's mind blows me still to this day. I get goosebumps when I talk about it. It just mind blows me how easy this is, honestly, once you get in it, and it's just, yeah.
For me, the only time that I really will do counting like calories and those types of things, I don't count calories. I'm like looking at what are your percentages of your macros. That's what I'm actually interested in. And the only time I'm going to do that is if somebody's got a problem. Like if they're not actually, they're going ahead and they're not actually losing weight and they maybe need to see, like, for example, that they've got some hormonal issues and they need some more fat and I need them to see what does that look like. That's really when I'm only going to get them to do those types of things. I'm far more interested in your GKI, so your glucose ketone index, about what's happening there. And so, again, I'm only looking at those things if you've got some problems. If things aren't working the way that you want them to work, then let's get into the data and actually have a look at what needs to be tweaked and changed.
Yeah, you need to, at that point, you need to be like, okay, what are you actually eating?
Yeah.
Right? Are you eating until you're comfortably stuffed? Are you, Like, are you eating enough? Right? Are you supplying your body?
A lot of people are under eating.
Yeah. And I honestly don't know how. I can literally eat 1,800 calories in one sitting. I don't understand. I don't know. I don't know. A lot of people like to eat multiple times a day. Like I see people, I had 4 pieces of bacon and 4 eggs for breakfast. I'm like, I would have had like 20 pieces of bacon and like 6 eggs for breakfast. I don't know. I guess they just want to eat those smaller meals all the time. I don't know.
Well, I think too, like for me, this is where I address that issue, which is essentially we've got different constitutional types. And some people who've got like a good balanced digestive system can do the 1 meal a day and it works really well for them. If you've got a constricted digestive system, you probably need at least 2 meals a day to kind of space that out a little bit more so you can get more nutrients out of it. But it really is just finding your own groove as to what actually works for you.
Yep, and I think since I'm gaining so much muscle, I've noticed that I've had to eat a meal and when I get home from work, like a half of another meal, like a small little portion of a meal. Not the full-blown serving what I usually eat for my first meal, but I find myself eating more when I get home. And I just think because obviously muscle needs more fuel and I need more muscle. So I think I've noticed over the past month that I've had to eat more.
especially if you're going through a growth phase. Like if you're going through a muscle growth phase,
Yeah,
you're going to need more nutrients at that point than if you're just going through a maintaining phase.
Yeah, and I think I am going through a growth phase because I've noticed this week I've increased my weights at the gym on some of my exercises.
Yeah.
So that's also what's happening because I'm staying the same weight. I'm not gaining weight. I think I am replacing muscle with fat. So that's good. But that's why I like doing the InBody scans. If people can find a place to do those, I think they're really really good to tell what's happening with your fat and muscle stuff, and then obviously getting your lab work done so you know where you're sitting at, right? Health-wise, because I mean you may look healthy on the outside, but on the inside you're really not.
Could be a whole different story.
Yeah, we need to figure it out, but yeah.
The other question that I've got is, and I don't know if I can language it so well for people, but for me, I think that going carnivore or even keto, so in that same sort of umbrella space, really helps with thinking, in the sense of like being able to think more clearly. Like a lot of the stuff that I see happening with people in regards to that emotional perspective of dealing with emotional crises and traumas and all of that type of stuff, like I don't know that I can language it well enough to people that they can understand that, holy dooly, when you come from the place of like fully nourished, dealing with that is like, it's so much easier. It's like, I'm going to hand it over to you, see if you can language it better than me.
So my husband has ADD, horrible, right? And if we were going to the grocery store, I couldn't talk to him. We couldn't have a conversation because he would forget where we're going. And now we can have conversations and he remembers where we're going. And it still to this day, 10 months later, we're like, you remember that we're going to the store after this conversation? Like, and he can function better, right? He can, like, he's trying to take his test to do the drones, right, to fly. And before he would have to read and read and read and read the same sentence multiple times. Now he can read it once and he's got it. So yes, it clears your mind. Like it's insane how, and more you see the world. I don't know, like you said, it's hard to describe, like the glasses come off, like the goggles, like the drunk goggles come off, right? I don't get as tired at work anymore. I'm not just like, feel like I'm drained after 4 hours of work. I'm not drained until I'm ready to go to bed. And for me, I have PMDD, so that's really bad PMS, severe PMS. And I had to be on Prozac for over 6 years. So I'm still healing. I know I am, because Prozac, being on it that long, really messes up everything, your brain chemistry and all that. But I have noticed that eating this way has helped me immensely. I can, for the most part, some anxiety attacks during that time of the month are worse and I have a harder time calming down. But I notice I can catch myself more now and be like, okay, it's okay, you're okay. And then I can continue. I don't know, it's mind-boggling, the difference. It really is. And like I said, it's hard to explain. And when my dog passed away at the beginning of the month, I was not a crier because I was on Prozac for so long. I didn't feel any emotions. Like I had another dog that passed away while when I was still on Prozac, standard American diet, and she was like my baby too, like my first puppy, everything. And I only cried a little bit, and I didn't feel any emotion, right? I felt about it.
Numb.
But you feel numb. And with changing to carnivore, I was just like, for like a whole week. Like my husband's like, it's gonna be okay. I'm like, I know. I just let me cry. And he's like, I've never seen you like this, because we've been together, we've been married for 11 years. And so I've basically been almost on Prozac since most of our relationship. So he's like, I've never seen you. Are you gonna be okay? Like, do you need to go to counseling? I'm like, I'm gonna be fine. Just let me cry. And so it's nice to feel, you know what I mean? It's nice to feel that emotion, but with eating this way, you can control it a lot more.
Yeah.
Like stressful situations are easier to handle. I mean, we still obviously have small depressions, right? Because we are human. but you don't go into those major dives down. Like if something bad happens, you're kind of down for a little bit, but then it's like you get happy. Like the next Monday I woke up and I was like, I felt great, right? And I was like, oh, I feel good. I'm good. Like I grieved, I did my thing, not an issue anymore. So yeah. It definitely is a game changer for sure.
It's funny, I'm being reminded of a post that I saw on Twitter the other day, which was like this guy that said, single man, go find yourself a carnivore woman. They're so much easier to deal with because their emotional like roller coaster is less. And I'm like, 100%. Yeah, actually that makes a lot of sense to me. And it's not that they're not experiencing things, it's that their ability to cope is so much great, like it's greatly increased. And I see it too, because one of the roles that I do in my business is actually some of the physical work, but also the emotional work of like the emotional trauma that kind of keeps people stuck in the same patterns that they're doing. And I can tell you hands down, when I'm working with somebody who's in that keto/carnivore space, low carb sort of space, they can logic their way through some of this stuff where they can really think it and then they can feel it. And, they do the whole situation of actually crying it out and letting it actually out of their bodies so much more succinctly. And they have the ability to distance themselves of saying, oh, this event that I made all about me, that I was a bad person, that I was terrible, I can see that actually none of it was about me. It was about this person and their experiences. And they can create that distance and that separation between it meaning something about them so much more succinctly than when they're all tangled up with all of the chemicals that are going through their body, their brain is foggy, like all of the stuff. And, I'm saying to people now that if I have a new client and I could do exactly what I wanted with them, I would get them to do 12 weeks carnivore. Then we might work on insulin resistance if we need to. And then we're going to go do the deep diving into the personal, stuff and actually clear out those skeletons because you can think so much better.
Yep. I 100% agree. Like, and that's just another benefit from carnivore. It's not weight loss. It really isn't. That's a benefit. That's why I tell people it's not about weight loss, because that's what I get. Well, I haven't lost any weight yet. I'm like, well, your body's probably healing. You probably have a lot of ailments that you probably didn't know about. Your body's healing. If the weight needs to go, the weight will go, right? That's just how this way of eating works. But you need to heal. And I'm like, there's just so much more greater benefits from carnivore than weight loss.
Yeah.
Yes, weight loss was nice, but I tell you, the overall whole health perspective is just amazing, and still to this day mind boggles me. I'm like, I'm sure it does, Dr. Barry, Sean Baker, I'm pretty sure they're still like in awe why it works, right? But yeah, it's amazing.
Yeah. And I'm with you there. Like for me, I think about weight loss as the inevitable outcome. It's the inevitable outcome of actually healing your body. And maybe we need to tweak a few things to help you get there a little bit quicker and help you support some of those things a little bit better. But it's the inevitable outcome. Like, don't make that your focus and sole end goal, but look at your non-scale victories. Like, what victories are you getting that aren't to do with a scale? So I'm curious, what have been your non-scale victories?
So I've had 3 surgeries. 2 of them being on my feet. And I was to the point where I couldn't do physical activity anymore. And I couldn't stand for more than 30 minutes at a time. My feet hurt that bad. I couldn't even slightly jog a few feet without my feet being so sore. That pain is almost gone. I can run now. I don't run a lot because I don't have to. I'm not in the military anymore. I'm not running away from anything, right? Nothing's chasing me. I still do run because it feels good now. I'm like, yes, my body's is, this is good, right? My body's not hurting. So then my feet pain, it was literally almost gone. My shoulder, I had shoulder surgery. Actually, I had my bicep moved down. So weightlifting kind of weird with me because my shoulder's all weird, but that pain has gone like almost away as well. Like the only time I get sore is from working out. Still my tendon gets a little bit bothered, but it heals fast. It's only like a couple days and that's it, compared to weeks and weeks. I do have partial bulging discs in my back. I got kind of messed up by being in the military, but it's okay. That pain has subsided a lot. Before I was in constant pain. It would feel like someone had a knife in my back probably every other day. twisting it, and I was in immense pain. I had to roll on the ground with a tennis ball and see a chiropractor. I don't go to a chiropractor anymore, so I'm not wasting money on that either. So that's gone away. My PMDD is getting better, especially since I eliminated cheese. We can go over that too. But I don't snore anymore. Depression's gone. Anxiety has gone down a lot. I was pre-diabetic. That's gone. I don't have any of that type of issues either. My kidney function's increased. My liver is healing because I drank a lot. I was a daily drinker, and I would get home from work and basically almost be drunk and then go to work the next day, not drunk, but and then come home and drink. So I healed a lot of things.
Yeah, awesome. So it sounds to me like you're kind of like dancing around the edges, if not already, in like Lion's diet sort of territory.
Yeah,
have you done a bit of an experimentation yet? Because I know you do some experimentation. Have you done a Lion's diet experiment yet?
No, I don't. I'm afraid to give up coffee because I don't want to be a problem, you know. I'm like, oh, I feel even better now without coffee, right? That's probably the only plant-based, right? Because people are like, oh, that's plant-based. You're not truly carnivore. So that's the only plant I still consume is coffee. And how I make my coffee is I just put egg yolk in it and then stir it, and I put chocolate element in it.
Yeah,
is what so I'm kind of, because I did the 30-day beef, butter, bacon, and eggs challenge, got rid of dairy. I realized how much dairy was affecting me, not only weight-wise, but for my hormones. It was affecting me really bad. I noticed once I stopped that, my PMDD has dropped even more. So I'm scared to like, no coffee. I'm just eating beef and eggs and salt, and that's it, right? Plus, I'd still keep my keto chow because there's no flavoring in them. But I really love my element too. So I mean, I probably could do it because I would be like, no, you're doing this, but I'd be kind of scared to try coffee and be like, no, no coffee for you. Because I noticed that after I did the 30-day challenge, I noticed that's when I was also sensitive to chicken.
Yeah.
And I can't eat turkey. I had turkey bacon and I was sick. I think it was worse than pork reacted to me.
I want to say that my chicken, I had problems with chicken early on. I don't have problems with chicken now. Like, it's actually resolved itself, thankfully. And I'm like, yay, chicken wings. But the key thing for me is, like, I can't just do chicken by itself. I have to have like lots of butter with it, because I've got to get the right fat ratio for me to be able to do the chicken.
Yeah.
But I knew every time I did chicken in the early days, I would gain weight, or I certainly would not lose weight if I was eating chicken. And so, you know, I had to like really like go, I'm not eating chicken. But now I'm really thankful I can do chicken again. What I do there, maybe that in the future.
Well, so we do have chicken. I say I've cut it down to where we can have it once a month. So we do chicken wings once a month. That way we can have a variety, right? And my husband's chicken wings are really good. So, but I do notice that I have gas. I'm gassy after I eat chicken. So I have gas.
So you're not digesting chicken.
Yeah. So I'm just gassy. It's not really painful or anything like with eating pork. I'm so bad with pork that I can't even eat a piece of pork rind, and it's instant. My stomach instantly starts hurting. Now I can get away with 1 or 2 pieces of bacon, depending, I think, on where the bacon comes from. But other than that, no pork whatsoever. It kills my stomach so bad. But so we do chicken once a month. And I'm trying to experiment with cheeses. So I bought goat cheese, but I really don't like it. I need to find sheep cheese because my cousin says that sheep cheese tastes a little bit better than goat cheese. So
it's more mild,
Yeah, so I need to go to our bigger city because the town I'm in is kind of small. And they only have goat cheese. I'm surprised they even have that. I need to find some sheep cheese, and I want to try experimenting with that to see if that is going to affect, my hormonal balance. But honestly, I don't really miss cheese. I miss cheese a little bit, but not too crazy. It'd just be nice to have some cheese every now and then, on my cheeseburger, but I'm not going to sacrifice my health for cheese, if that makes sense. Like, I don't want to do it.
I hear you. I'll give you a little tip. So if you've got a pulsometer, for those people at home, this is a pulsometer. It tests your pulse. You can do it without a pulsometer. You can just test your own pulse as well. But so if you want to test out the cheese or whatever else it is you want to test out, first take your pulse, get a standing resting pulse, then eat the thing. So whether it's the cheese that you want to eat it. Don't go and run around afterwards. Stay in kind of like a resting sort of state. And 10 minutes later, take your pulse again. And then again, 20 minutes later, take your pulse again. So at 10-minute intervals, take your pulse. If your pulse has risen more than 10% after the meal that you've had that new food in, then you're having an adrenal response to it because your immune system's reacting to it. So there's this little quick thing that you can do at home to figure out if it's a problem.
I'll have to order that because I do want to try incorporating cheese, possibly if I can find one that I can, have. But I noticed with the cheese, I was eating a lot of Greek yogurt, plain Greek yogurt.
Yeah.
Right. I got the high fat because fat's good for you. Don't want to get the low fat yogurt. And I would put Element in it to flavor it. But I noticed I was getting addicted to having one every night.
Yep.
So I think that was also part of my problem of not being able to lose any more weight. Plus, it was affecting my hormones. So, definitely not adding yogurt back in because to me it's addicting to me, and it's not. I may add it back in depending on if I need to. If I lose too much body fat, right? Because for females, we need a certain percent so we can still, function normally and properly. I may have to add it back in every now and then, like maybe once a week or something, just to keep my body fat up. But we'll do that if it ever gets to that point.
When you get to it. Look, I have a problem with yogurt too. Like, I have occasionally just let myself get yogurt or have some yogurt, but it's definitely it's addictive. I don't lose weight. It is a problem food for me, so I leave it out. If I was going to do something, it would be probably milk kefir. Because of how powerful, like it's got so many great probiotics and stuff in it. But yeah, I have to really like police myself when it comes to yogurt, because I walk past the yogurt aisle and I go, I could have some, but
no. And then I can get raw milk where I'm from, because we have a lot of small little dairy farms here that do their own personal milking. But it's still high in sugar, so I don't. I'm like, it sounds good sometimes to, drink it, but I'm like, no, I know as soon as I drink it, I'm going to want more because my body, our bodies want sugar, right? Sugar is more addicting than meth. So you put sugar in your body, you're going to want more. And I'm like, not even chancing even raw milk. So I'm like, So yeah, I want to try experimenting with some cheeses like goat cheese and sheep cheese, because I read that's a little bit better for you than cow's milk cheese. So I kind of want to experiment a little bit with that. But I noticed that I don't really want cheese a lot anyway. So when I do eat the goat cheese, it's like a small little like sliver, and I'm like, okay, that's enough. And then I don't eat it for and it sits there for like another week, and I'm like, oh crap, I forgot I had cheese in here, because now I'm not used to eating it anymore, right? It'd be a daily thing, get a cheese stick out of the fridge or a slice of cheese. Now it's like, and my husband's like, I miss cheese. I'm like, get cheese. And he's so sweet. He's like, I'm not having it in the house because it's not fair for you. And I'm like, I don't care. And he's like, no. And I'm like, you're so sweet. But yeah, he's one of those mushy, squishy guys. he won't even eat pork anymore. He won't even eat pork chops anymore now. And he loves them. I'm like, smoke me a burger. You can eat a pork chop. He's like, well, no, because I want a smoked burger too. I'm like, okay. I guess it's whatever. It's whatever. So yeah, but we found.
So for those at home, well, I was just going to say, for those at home that are listening to this with you and your reactions there, generally what I'm going to say to people is that you need to have like 9 months off of the thing, so that your body can forget that it's created antigens to that food, and then go and fight in the cleanest way possible. So if you're used to getting like pork that's farmed, go get free range pork and try it at the the cleanest way possible you can get it when you try it again.
And I want there's a couple places that do free range pork, and they don't give them any grains. And I've been tempted to order from them. One of my coworkers actually orders from them, and I keep forgetting to ask him when he's going to do an order, because he said that we can go in it together to save on shipping, to get it from them. So I've been kind of debating on trying wild boar and seeing if that affects me the same. So I am up for experimenting with cleaner things, but at the same time, also scared because it's very painful.
Sure. Have some activated charcoal on hand so that you can take some of it to reduce some of that pain for you if it happens.
It's painful and I don't like it. But so we found our local rancher where we get our beef from. They sell beef belly. So I make my own beef bacon now. So I still have bacon. And by the way, it tastes the same. It's just bigger. So you get more. And you do have to make it yourself. I mean, there's some companies that sell it, but it's expensive. So we just do it ourselves. It's super easy. I have a video on my channel how to do it. Super easy, not complex at all. Yeah. So I still enjoy bacon, and it's good for you. And it doesn't bother me. It doesn't hurt me. So yeah. There's alternatives to like literally almost everything. So
absolutely. And I think that that's the thing for people to really be encouraged by, that, if there's something that you want, go have a look. Somebody's probably made it, or they've got something, maybe, for example, if it's a birthday and you're wanting to do a cake, go and have a look. There might even be something that's like, ketovore. So it's just slightly out of where you want to be, but enough that you're still within that happy range. There's so many creative people out there at the moment that making all sorts of different things. So type in what you want, carnivore, you'll probably find it. And
that's called like what they call an oopsie cake. It looks really good. It looks like a vanilla cake. And they put cream cheese frosting on it. And everybody's like, well, what would you? I was like, I would sacrifice having dairy one day. I honestly would. Like, I would have it. Like, it didn't affect me digestively. It's more of a hormonal thing for me, and obviously a weight loss, which is at this point, I don't know, that's not my goal now, right? My goal is to build muscle and be fit. But I would have it for that one day. But honestly, I'd rather just have my husband smoke me a steak, and I would eat a steak. I'd rather have a steak with butter on it for my birthday than an oopsie cake. First of all, steak's way more easier to make than me making an oopsie cake. You know what I mean? So I'm like, I don't want to waste my time on my birthday doing that. I'd rather have a smoked steak. Plus, my husband's cooking and not me. So there's that. But, so there are all alternatives out there. And there are healthier ones. So if you do want to, not fall off the wagon, but, adventure off for that day, you can. It's fine. But
it might be something that people choose to do for like Christmas or something like that, so that you're not completely out there on your own. For me, a good birthday is when I have a tomahawk steak. Like, go find the biggest, juiciest tomahawk steak and some beautiful butter, and maybe like some prawns or something with it. So I've got a bit of surf and turf. I just like pick my favorite things that I usually can't afford because they're like really expensive.
Yep. 100%. I completely agree. Yep. But yeah.
Good. So I'm curious now, if people are listening to this at home, they're going, so where do we find you? How do we get to know you? And all of that type of stuff. Do you want to give everybody your handles?
Yeah. So on YouTube, you can find me at Carnivore Lady. And I'm also on Instagram at Carnivore Lady 208. I live in Idaho, so that's our area code. So that's why I did Carnivore Lady 208 on Instagram. I post daily, pretty much every day on Instagram of like my workouts, like the time it took me to work out, and just general posts like that. And then on YouTube, I try posting every other day if I can, if I don't have something come up or whatnot. But yeah, so that's where they can find me at.
Yay. So if people want to reach out to you, can they? Like, are you happy for them to like send you a message on Instagram or something?
Yeah, so that you can send me a message on Instagram. You can comment on my YouTube channel. I'm really good at answering people back as long as it's not a rude comment. But a lot of my followers on YouTube will answer you back if you're being rude. So that's super kind of my community to be supportive of me. I also have an email address, carnivorelady208@gmail.com. So they can send me a private email if they want as well. Yep. I'm open to answer questions and help people as best as possible. I really am. And if I need to research something, I am all for all that.
Awesome. So if somebody's watching this at home and they're like, oh, I think I need to do this, what are your tips to start out? What are you going to say to them?
Go for it. Clean out your pantries, right? Clean out your refrigerators. If you have kids that are older or whatever, and they're not living in your home anymore, give it to them. Give it to other friends or family that are not doing what you're doing. Get rid of it in your house, because then you're less tempted to eat it. Eat until you're comfortably stuffed, because that's going to help you stay satisfied and not be hungry. That's the key. Is this diet is made to make you feel full all the time, pretty much. So eat until you're comfortably stuffed. Keep it simple at the beginning. Don't try making it complex. Don't be trying to make carnivore pizza, egg white bread, any of that stuff. Keep it simple. Try it. And my recommendation is try it for at least 30 days. And I do recommend them buying electrolytes so before they start, because that's going to help, especially if you have already eaten a high carb diet. You're probably going to have carb withdrawal symptoms, which is what they like to call keto flu, but that's not what it is. It's carb withdrawal symptoms, and you can experience headaches and stuff like that. And the electrolytes are going to help either eliminate it or make it to where it's very minimal.
Yeah. And I agree with all of that. That's all really great advice. So I want to thank you so much. I'm sure we could talk for hours, and I would love to do some more sessions with you where we talk about some specific stuff too. That'd be great. But thank you so much for joining us today, and I look forward to connecting with you again.
Okay, I appreciate it. Yeah, we'll have to connect again, then we can talk about more specific little things. But yeah, for sure.
I know. I'm sure we've got lots that we can talk about, because we're on the same sort of wavelength and path there with all of that. So it's been really great chatting with you.
You too.
Good. All right. Bye for now. Enjoy the rest of your day, and I will talk to you again soon.
Okay. Bye.